written in voice, a voice resting close to the heart, and perhaps, just perhaps, a single word might spark a little light. Hello and welcome back to Written in Voice. The word is English. What it describes cuts across languages and cultures. In English, it's called gaslighting. I looked into how Québécois French speakers translate it because they make a real effort to find French equivalents for most English expressions. They sometimes say manipulation, destabilizing lies, mental manipulation, deceptive illumination, psychological distortion, and even false light, a more poetic rendering of the original term gaslight. But in the end, none of these fully capture that feeling of being gently pushed away from your own reality, that inner shift where you lose your center, where your emotions become vague, where you begin to doubt even your most basic certainties. So for the French version of this podcast, I kept the English word as well. I've spoken before about manipulation, but gaslighting isn't about getting something from you. It's about taking something away. Your confidence, your memory, your right to feel. It doesn't make you believe something. It makes you doubt everything. It's a direct attack on perception, on reality, on the very core of who you are. Why do people do this? Why choose shadow instead of truth? Often out of fear. The fear of losing control, of being wrong, or the fear of being seen as they truly are. So, they turn the light around. They shine it back on you. They make you wobble so they don't have to collapse. It's a toxic defense because it destroys the other to avoid facing oneself. And sometimes it's not even conscious. Some people don't know how to speak any other way. They were raised in it. They never questioned their own version of the world. And when you hold up a mirror, they smash it in your face. Understanding gaslighting doesn't fix it. But understanding gives it a name. And what we can name, we can begin to recognize. And what we recognize, we can finally walk away from. What I say here, I say as a woman. But let me be clear from the start. Gaslighting is not a male invention. Women do it too. It isn't about gender. It's about dynamics of control. And I speak from my own experience as a woman in relation to men. And so, this isn't a universal truth, it's a personal account. But if I'm sharing it, it's for one reason. Because I know I'm not alone. And because perhaps someone listening today will recognize themselves. Gaslighting doesn't begin with shouting. It begins with a shift. With phrases that sound harmless, but quietly erode. You're far too sensitive. You're overreacting. It's all in your head. You feel something, and they tell you you're wrong. You remember something, and they say it never happened. You're in pain, and they dismiss it entirely. This is how reality starts to break apart. not through forgetting, but through invasion. Someone else steps into your perception and starts to redraw the map. I'm a deeply empathetic person. I give without calculating. And maybe deep down, I hope that in giving, I'd finally be recognized. That by being there for someone, they'd eventually be there for me. There was a time I accompanied a man I was in a relationship with. He had erectile issues, among other things. He was a foreigner. I organized everything for him, appointments, translation. And that day, I could barely walk. I was in pain, but I stayed. He saw me, my back, my leg, my exhaustion. Yet, after the hospital visit, he said, "That's why I took the medication today, because I knew you'd be leaving tomorrow." As if my leaving wasn't out of necessity, but betrayal. As if his physical needs came before my reality. Gaslighting is also this. You're erased. What you feel is twisted. What you do is turned against you. In the end, you're the one being blamed. I could give countless examples. The one who told me I'd probably never write anything again, that it would never work. The one who regularly criticized my covers because there was only one proper way to sing, his, though in truth he couldn't sing. The one who wanted me to write in a windowless room, while he controlled the schedule, the films, even the conversation. The one who screamed over a moved object, and the one who made a child wear a turtleneck and a coat in the middle of summer. They all had the same effect. They made me question myself, my tastes, my choices, my limits, until I no longer knew if I had the right to exist as I am. Everything can be taken from a person, except one thing, said Viktor Frankl, an Austrian psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor: the final freedom to choose how to respond no matter the circumstances, to choose one's own path. That's what I want too, to choose my own meaning, to take back the language, to stop letting others define my experience. Simone Weil once wrote, "Imaginary evil is romantic and varied. Real evil is gloomy, monotonous. Gaslighting is a desert of fog, where everything loses shape, where weariness sets in, not from pain, but from doubt, from slow erasure, from being moved away from yourself. And yet, there are moments, tiny ones, when something refuses to bend. You stop shouting. You stop justifying. You know. You feel. And you decide, I will not doubt myself anymore. Albert Camus once said, "In the depth of winter, I finally learnt that within me there lay an invincible summer." Of course, he wasn't speaking of sunshine. He was speaking of that quiet inner core, the part that refuses to surrender. I'm not saying this to complain. I'm speaking because I'm getting back up on my feet. And this time for good. It's not in opposition to anyone. it's for myself. And because I want to help create that same shift in others who may need it. So yes, I'm speaking to you who might be listening in silence and wondering if you're allowed to feel what you feel. Oh yes, you are. You're not exaggerating. You didn't imagine anything. What you lived deserved to be said. And you are not alone. I wrote this podcast because I would have needed to hear something like this when I was lost in the fog. So, if my voice can be a mirror, a foothold, then it's worth it. Written in voice, a voice resting close to the heart, and perhaps, just perhaps, a single word might spark a little light.